My name is Philippe Pomaski, I'm 27 years old, I'm from Switzerland, and I'm a black belt under Leo Vieira. Checkmat. So there was no one moment really, it was like continuous things happening. I started training in Switzerland, at Team Basel, where I'm training right now again since I moved back to Switzerland. But so I was training there, and I like JiuJitsu a lot, and I remember I couldn't even imagine it the way it is today, and that was never really my goal in the beginning. I just started, I had fun, I wanted to compete. I started competing very soon. I competed I think after 3 weeks of training, I did my first competition and I liked it, and it was just a lot of fun to me. And my dream was to participate in the World Championship, not win, it was to take part. And I remember I was telling my coach, right when I started, after a month or two, I told my coach in Switzerland, I said, oh, I want to, go and compete at Worlds. And he's like, yeah, but why don't you win it, why don't you want to win it? Because I felt stupid saying, oh, I want to win Worlds, because I thought I was so far away. It sounded so, it sounded like an illusion to me to even get to a level where I could consider that, training in Switzerland, having no experience with any other gyms. I didn't know, to me, guys in Brazil, white belt in Brazil was God, super good. He probably 10 times better than me as a white belt in Switzerland, in my mind. And he's like, yeah, but everybody can participate in the World Championship. Why don't you just go and win it? And I was like, oh yeah, cool, okay. That's what I wanted in the first place, but I didn't want to say that to sound stupid. So I was like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I want anyway. And then I just started training more and competing more and winning the stuff in Switzerland. And I started traveling, and I traveled to Miami to train with Cyborg at Fight Sports. And he was the first guy that gave me the feeling that I could do something. When I was training with him and he told me, I was doing well, and he was like, man, come here, let's train, let's make you world champion. And that was the first time I was like, oh yeah, maybe that can really happen. And then I was still in school, and he told me to come back after I finished school. So I went twice for vacation, summer vacation, trained for 6 weeks straight. And then I went back to Miami after I finished school. And I told my parents, and they were like, no, you're not going to do jiu-jitsu, you're going to school. I said, no, I'm gonna do jiu-jitsu. And yeah, it was a big argument and everything, but after all, I went to Miami, was supposed to go for half a year. I was supposed to, okay, 6 months, you finish school, then you start university, go for 6 months. And it ended up being 7 years. So that's what happened, really. So it just happened. I went to Miami, and then I started training, and I ended up in Brazil. I lived in Brazil for 2 years. And from Brazil, I went to LA. So I was in Brazil, I was already Checkmat, trained with Palito, with Gabriel Rolo and Thiago Abreu in Brazil. And then from there, I went to LA and stayed there for 3.5 years, more or less. I got second, but yeah, I didn't know what was going on. I so much adrenaline, I probably did everything wrong, and I couldn't remember anything of the match afterwards. You know how that is, that adrenaline rush, and what happened and what was going on. But it was good, I learned a lot. That's the thing, that's when people ask me, oh, what should I do to get better at jiu-jitsu and everything? I think there's 2 things to do. There's only one thing really, is training. There's no other secret really than training, but there is a shortcut, in my opinion, which is competing. When you compete, it's just so intense and so much knowledge packed together somehow, as if you're training for weeks and weeks. Every time I come back still today, it's not that much of a difference after a competition, but I still feel the difference after a competition, when I come back to the gym. there's stuff that I didn't know before, and out of nowhere it makes sense. It happens so many times to me. After competition, I come back to the gym, I train, and I'm like, man, this is so easy. I don't know what, like, it just seems clearer after a competition, winning or losing, actually. So I think if you just want to get good and like want to get good quicker and want to experience and test your jiu-jitsu the way I think it should be, you just should compete. And it doesn't matter if you're like the champion or of everything or not, because every time you compete, you're gonna learn 100%. Like that's for sure. Part of winning or losing, you're gonna be learning a lot. How's the difference now? Or even before, not now at black belt only, but before, like when I was purple and I got my brown, how is it at brown? When I was blue and got my purple, how's it at purple? It was really all the same to me, to be honest. I never felt like any big difference. Because you grow too, you know? You get your belt and you get to that next level. So I always found it was pretty much the same thing. Honestly, the hardest to compete until today, I probably found was at purple belt. That was probably when I started, because I remember I started losing a lot more at purple. So at white, I didn't lose a lot because like I only did like local competitions in Switzerland or like around Europe. So there's not too many guys, so I was winning a bunch. Then at blue, I was winning a bunch. And then also I went to like bigger competitions and I was winning in the US and stuff. So I never really lost a lot until blue belt. And then at purple, I went to Brazil and I was facing all those guys that would like die for every advantage. And I somehow wasn't prepared for that, I felt. And it took me a while to get used to that kind of competition where it was just like kill or be killed, really. And I remember that I was like struggling in the beginning and I was losing a bunch of competitions like that because they had just a different mindset of, they really needed that. Where I was like, yeah, I'm competing kind of for fun. But I think in terms of a special way to teach class, I really think Leo Vieira teaches a very special class. Like sometimes when I teach, I try to teach the way he does it because it's very like, I don't know, it feels like freestyle-ish. He just throws in stuff that he thinks of that aren't like, it's not, usually not your regular warm-up. It's always like different things he does. It's one thing he did I thought was very good. I tried to teach that a couple times, was like, to encourage scrambles. So he does trainings to just scramble. So let's say you have 2 minutes, you're on top and you have to scramble to the next like good position for you or into the next submission for you. So it's just all scrambles. The guy on bottom doesn't hold a position. He's not holding you in guard. He's like, you're passing, he pushes you away, you jump to his back, he scrambles out. You try to go for an arm, he scrambles out on top. You like run for a double leg right away from bottom to get up, to get him down again. Like very, like that kind of stuff. I think that's like, I've never seen that before, and he teaches like that. And for example, that's like something I think opens a lot of doors for you in terms of different positions that you don't go through if you have like a regular role. You just always do your same positions, you know, you don't experience like new positions. I think that's a very interesting concept of training, for example. I would say Leo Vieira for being the coach over there, obviously for teaching and, you know, like for showing that different approach to jiu-jitsu, that different way of training and different way he sees techniques. Like it's usually you ask him something and he has an answer that is better than all the things you knew before, and you're like, how did he know that? How did I not know that? Sometimes it's so obvious and you still don't know, and he just comes up with that. Like we call him the master of the like magicians. He's it's a cartoon. The guy's like short and, you know, the master of the magicians. And because that's how he just is. You ask him something and he just comes up with something where you're like, you know, how did he know that? How does he know that kind of stuff? Another one for sure that helped me to learn a lot of things, that taught me a lot, was Luis Panza, because he's very technical. He's kind of known as a footlog guy. A lot of people know him for his footlogs, but I think he's one of the most technical guys I've trained with. And also a very good coach. Like he knows how to teach you stuff. And in terms of showing how to train also, not just training itself when he shows you techniques, but for dedication, is probably, not probably, he's for sure the guy that I know that trains the most. I've never seen somebody train more and being more dedicated than he is. He does like 5 trainings every day, and I live with him at his apartment, so we trained together all day, woke up, did everything until we went to sleep, all the trainings like jiu-jitsu, weightlifting, conditioning, and swimming, and we did like 5 trainings every day, and I did it for like 3 months, and I felt like dying. I just couldn't do it anymore. I felt like, you know, it wasn't fun. I got injured, I got sick. It just wasn't for me because everybody's different. He's just that kind of guy. He has to do all those trainings because, you know, his body demands it. If not, you know, he has energy left, and like I'm not like that. For me, 2 trainings a day or 3, usually 2 or 3 are perfect. That's good. More than that is too much for me, but he's like that. He's very dedicated, very, very dedicated. Diet, training, everything. So for sure, he's one of the guys I learned the most in terms of everything, like jiu-jitsu techniques and training methods. And as far as jiu-jitsu, to train with all those world champions, it's great. I mean, it's good. You learn a lot. You get beat up a lot. But that's why I was saying sometimes you have to take care of your body and make sure you don't get injured. Because, I mean, I'm not saying those guys like injure you when you train with them, but they're just big, especially over there. Like, it's all big guys. All the, like, Buchecha, Panza, they're very big. Even though they're very technical, they're still big and heavy. So when they go hard, it's like, you know, it feels like you get run over by a truck. Sometimes you wake up the next morning, you're like, oh my God, what happened? But it's good, you know, you get to learn a lot. I learned a lot from all the guys. It was good to have all the guys together, so I got to pick kind of different techniques from everybody. I learned a lot of stuff from like Buchecha, a lot of stuff from Panza, from Leo Vieira, obviously teaching classes, many other guys too, so kind of got to pick what fits your game from everybody. So I think that's really cool. If you're at a gym where there's so many good guys, you just have like, you know, that whole talent put together, so you just learn a lot from everybody. But that's one thing that's kind of surprised me, that impressed me in Brazil, how dedicated they are. Like, they don't, like when I was there training, like they don't play around. They do all their weightlifting, they do all their like jiu-jitsu trainings, or like running, like cross training, doing different kind of things, eat well, they rest, you know, like they're very focused. I remember when I went over there, that kind of impressed me, how focused they were. When I've seen like, yeah, like I've seen that's the same thing in the US, but I also seen more relaxed approaches. So that was the first time I've really seen that kind of training where people trained really hard and really wanted to be like good in jiu-jitsu and be successful. I remember when I competed in Brazil, that's one thing I realized. That was one of the big differences in the competition, that when I competed against guys in the US, obviously there's always like very high level guys in the US, also from Brazil, or American guys, but I found those small tournaments in Brazil that pay, a lot of tournaments in Brazil pay money. They have like absolute divisions that pay money, and the guys like in those absolute divisions, since there was money for it, were super, super hungry to win that money. Like, I've never seen that. That's another thing I remember when I went over there. I was impressed by the drive those guys had. Like, I felt before when I would compete, you sweep a guy, he like tries to fight it. If he can't, he's like, okay, he swept me. Over there, when it was for like 1,000 reais, which are like 250 bucks, you know, to those guys it was a lot of money. I mean, it's good money for like purple belt absolutes, for example. And those guys would just die before they like give up an advantage. And I think that was very impressive because, for example, the Cicero Costa guys that live in the gym, they really depend on that money to live, to have food, you know? Like, I've seen that, and I remember competing against, especially against the Cicero Costa guys, it was always like super crazy. Those guys would die before they gave an advantage. Like, you could break their arm and, you know, Cicero Costa himself was at many tournaments, and I remember guys got armbarred, the guy from his team got armbarred, and he tapped. And Cicero Costa came up to the guy, he's like, did he break your arm? And he's like, no, so why did you tap? was like, wow, that's pretty hectic. If it doesn't break, you're not supposed to tap. So I thought that was pretty, you know, hectic, like intense approach. But yeah, that's a big difference, I remember. Train train cleverer and not just get beat up every practice and go 200% and get injured and leave class. Like, I mean, training hard is very important, but still training smart. I think, like, I'm still not, I don't consider myself old, but getting older, I kind of realized that with stuff I have today that bothers me, like little injuries that I got during the time training hard that were not necessary. I think I could have done it differently, like warming up better, for example. Warming up parts that you maybe don't think of too much, like the neck. I think that's a big thing. Like, we warmed up neck, those, like, I think it was today even, yeah. Because that's something I would never do. You know, you do your regular warm up and it doesn't really include neck a lot. And then I injured my neck a bunch of times. And today's like, it doesn't need much to get injured. So anything that really like cranks my neck a little bit, I'll feel it for like 2-3 days because I've injured my neck too many times. So that kind of stuff, I just wish I thought of that before. You know, when you're younger, you kind of think you're like invincible and immortal. Everything, all your injuries are gonna go away. If you're sick, you're still training. Like, it happened to me that I was sick and I was training and I got really, really sick to a point where I saw how, and to a point where I was scared after that I wouldn't get back to good health the way I was before I got sick. So I thought, because I saw there was stuff, like the doctor told me there's like scar tissue on pretty much everything, that you have infections in your body after you have scar tissue, and I just saw how afterwards maybe you won't be 100% anymore if you don't take care of it. I always thought you get sick and everything goes by and you get injured and everything gets back to 100%, but it really doesn't. So just being clever, that's like experience. Stuff I could have taken care more back in the day when I didn't really care. I tried totally different stuff and then see if I can somehow implement it in my game. But obviously, I like look at things that I have trouble with, that I usually end up in, positions that I end up in, like it's from everywhere. Like sometimes somebody shows me something and I get to do it. Sometimes I figure it out myself. I have a lot of like little details that I just got to because I did the position over and over and over, and I got stuck. I couldn't finish the position, or I couldn't whatever, you know. And I encountered problems where I was like, oh, if I do it like that, that's how it's gonna be better, or that. So stuff I find myself, stuff, even like, honestly, like even YouTube videos, you know, like everybody like usually talks smack about people watching videos and learning from videos, but I've learned stuff from videos that worked. I've learned like Lucas Lepre, half guard, you know, passes that he does, I've seen on YouTube, and they work great in training. So just everywhere, you know. Yeah, just all the stuff, whatever I can put in my game and it works for me, I try to do it. And they were competing to survive. That's how I felt. So, and then I learned that. And after that, it was pretty much all the same. But that was like one big thing I learned in competition that made a big difference for me, was that different approach to competition, where you like just want to, like you turn that switch on and just want to kill the guy. Really, you know, like turn off your head and just go like full on, go hard. And I feel that was a big difference when I went there, because I kind of didn't have that. I never really needed that. The guys I competed against never really had that. I never felt that in the guys I competed against in like Europe or the US, where in Brazil I felt that a lot. So that was probably like, so competing wise, the hardest for me was at purple, because that's when I had to learn that and where I made that change in competition for myself. So you kind of do the same in training sometimes, you know, like there's the trainings where you train with your buddies, you train hard, but you're not like trying to kill a guy. But then sometimes there has to be those trainings where you just turn it on and you're like, I'm gonna smash you. And the same thing, he has to do the same thing, because if not, it's not gonna be a good training. But like, you have to have those guys that are able to do that and just go hard, you know, and just train really hard. You have to have that. I felt that was a thing that the guys do a lot in LA, training at Checkmat HQ, like Buchecha, and the guy I always felt with Buchecha, like he had those trainings where he like tries stuff, where he like, you know, goes for, and when there's like a competition coming up, he has a lot of those trainings where he just shows up at the gym, shakes everybody's hand, and from that point on, it's like, he's gonna kill you.
You're not friends anymore.
No, and like he's really gonna try to like, you know, like throw you around the gym. That's like his goal is go 100%. And if you're not going along, he's not gonna go slower because of that. He's not gonna be like, okay, I'm like smashing the guy, he's kind of going a little slower, I'm gonna slow down the pace. He's just gonna like murder you all training along. And that's something I, you know, learned, and that's just, sometimes that's just how it goes. So when you train for something, and sometimes you feel the guy turning that switch on and you know he's gonna go for broke and go really hard, and you do the same. And that's, I think that's sort of like some of the best trainings. Because you don't have to worry to like feel bad, you know, when you like cross-face the shit out of your training partner where you have like bleeding lip and bleeding nose. It just, sometimes training just has to be intense, because in competition, that's gonna be the way you're gonna compete. The guy's gonna get your back, he's gonna cross-face you like, you know, 360, like an owl. You're gonna be looking around, he's gonna do that, so you might as well be prepared for that. That's important too. We did yoga right away, and it wasn't like long. It wasn't like an hour session. It was maybe 25 minutes, just stretching with yoga positions, and it was really good. It helped me a lot.
So how did it specifically help you?
Just less pain. Now when I'm stretching, I stretch a lot more now actually than I used to before, and I feel way better. Like after a workout, if I stretch and I go home, I feel young, I feel good, you know, I don't have pain. If I just go home straight away, the next day I feel beat up. Like I really feel a difference. I have, like, everything is kind of stiff and hurts. And if not, I feel my joints are like all lubricated, like, you know, like they work well. To get better at jiu-jitsu, you have to do jiu-jitsu, you know. There's no, like, cross-training is good, it's fine, but it's different. Jiu-jitsu is, it's different. Like if you go running, for example, you'll be running for maybe an hour and you feel good running, you have good conditioning, you feel great. And then you do jiu-jitsu and you still get tired the same way, or maybe you have a little bit better conditioning. So it makes like a very small difference, but really it doesn't help you for your jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is not like a continuous running of 1 hour. It's like an explosion, it's rest, explosion, rest. So it's that, like, if anything, you do a training that you do, how do you call that in English? Like interval training, like a circuit of like explosions, quick rest, explosion, quick rest, something like that. I think that would make sense. But swimming is just, it was just good because it didn't hurt your body, you know, didn't injure your joints. In the water you feel good. If you have any pains, it's not gonna make it worse. And you just keep moving, so like you could get the training, and you don't have, you're underwater, so you can't breathe, so that helps too for your lung. But yeah, to get better at jiu-jitsu, you just have to train more jiu-jitsu. There's no, like, there's that, I like that Marcelo Garcia video a lot, where he shows how he trains. He's like, you have a 8-minute roll, and you can pass the guy's guard and hold him in side control, and then you can mount and hold him there until the roll's over. So you really just did like 1 guard pass and a mount, that's it. You didn't move, so you didn't get tired, you didn't push yourself. Or you do an 8-minute roll where you like pass the guy's guard 20 times, mount him 20 times, submit him 20 times, you know, like he shows how he rolls with the guy, and he goes crazy for, like, you know, pushes himself. That's, to me, is the best conditioning training you can get, because you're doing jiu-jitsu, you're doing the actual jiu-jitsu, you're not running. You're not supposed to run in a jiu-jitsu match anyway, so might as well do jiu-jitsu. I think, you know, still the best thing to do. Like, weightlifting is good, it's important, I think, to be strong, execute the techniques with strength, but still, it's, after all, it's just jiu-jitsu. Train more jiu-jitsu. You want to get good at something. You don't want to get good at playing guitar, you're not playing the piano, right? You're playing guitar. But what I found, like, a very good book, very interesting book to read, is called The Growth Mindset. Like Mindset, it's called. The book is called Mindset. And it's about the growth mindset, and how that translates into training is that, after all, the most important thing is to train, like practice, and try to get better and not try to be the best. So like Cobrinha always says that try to focus on improving, not to prove, but to improve. So that's kind of the thinking of, like, it doesn't matter if you win everything in training, if you're not learning, it's not worth it. It's worth nothing, really. The important part, you can get your ass kicked every training session as long as you're learning, and then you go to the competition and you put it in, how do you say it? Yeah, put the pieces together and compete and win, then it's worth it. That's how it should be, and you should. And also not, it's like, it's bigger than a competition even. It's like for you to grow and to learn, just to keep growing and learning. That's like, you know, that's like the most important part, and that's how I try to train. Like the no ego thing that you always hear, which people say, but sometimes they can't really do it. They just say it, and then they still, like, you know, have to win everything in practice and want to be the best in practice. Like, obviously nobody wants to get smashed every training, but you have to focus on what's your real goal. Is your real goal to be like the king in practice, or is it to get better in jiu-jitsu? So when you want to get better in jiu-jitsu, you're going to get beat up. You're going to try new positions where you're not good at. Somebody's going to pass your guard, somebody's going to choke you. So I've seen one guy that does that very good, and I was impressed by that when I first started training at Checkmat HQ, is Buchecha. Because, you know, he wins everything, so you're like, oh, he must beat everybody's ass in training. And he does too, but he also trains, like, he tries a lot of new stuff. You see him going for stuff that he doesn't know how to do, and he gets caught in things. And I'm like, wow, you know, like when I first saw it, I'm like, man, you know, somebody caught him in something. And I saw he didn't care at all. He just wanted to get better at that position. And then he got caught 5 times, and he called Leo over, and Leo showed him how to defend it. And once he learned it, he was never caught again in that same position. So I really saw that firsthand, how that works. And, you know, that's the important part. That's what you have to focus on, in my opinion, you know, not to just be the best in training. And also in competition, obviously, yeah, you want to win everything in competition, but I don't know, I think sometimes it's bigger than that. It's just the continuous learning. So the goal now really is, honestly, to be as good as I can be. You know, like that's my limit anyways, right? Like as good as I can be. And obviously it's like, now that I'm a black belt, I want to win a black belt world championship. That's pretty much for everybody the ultimate goal. But I just want to be as good as possible. I want to be like known for good jiu-jitsu. I want to be known for exciting jiu-jitsu. And I just want to like kind of make my name in jiu-jitsu as somebody that's known for, you know, cool jiu-jitsu. Somebody that matches are worth watching. And being from Switzerland and there not being many Swiss jiu-jitsu guys, you know, just like representing Swiss jiu-jitsu in that kind of way of showing exciting jiu-jitsu and just battling it out with the best guys in the world. You know, usually it's Brazilians at the biggest competitions that still win a black belt. Now Americans are coming up, winning. Now a couple Europeans are coming up. So, you know, help the European jiu-jitsu wave, and especially the Swiss one. So put Switzerland on the jiu-jitsu map, really. You know, that's my goal, just compete against the best guys and, you know, show my jiu-jitsu. I think so, yeah. I'm pretty sure I will, because, yeah, I've seen that it's possible, and I just love jiu-jitsu. I just can't imagine my life, even if I wouldn't be like competing and doing all that stuff, even training less, but I just know that I know for a fact that I have to train. I feel miserable if I don't. I've had those times like injuries or even just times or vacation where there was no training, for example, for a week or something. I get like moody, I don't feel good, I don't know, I feel weird. I don't like it. I get mad pretty quick, and if I'm training, I'm very relaxed. So I just need it. I need that in my life, and I just love jiu-jitsu, so I'm sure I'm gonna be training forever. Old guy, like old man jiu-jitsu, just smash the small guys, lay on top of them. Big belly.